Do you like games? I like games. Do you like games too? I like games too. I like games too.
Hey, I'm Peter Franson from ChristianGeekCentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. I want to share with you today my thoughts on That Dragon Cancer, which just released on the PC this week. It's a point-and-click story game that's created by Ryan and Amy Green, chronicling their family's journey through their young son's cancer treatment. Through exploring a series of both real and symbolic environments, players take on the role of different family members as well as that of a sort of omniscient observer. Now, for most of the game, you'll have control of the camera, although movement through the 3D environments is accomplished by clicking on one of numerous kind of key areas. As you move through environments, examine objects, and interact with easy mini-games, you have the opportunity to empathize with the Greens in both their pain and their moments of joy and hope. Some people may ask if this should be called a game. Well, maybe not technically, but I'm not sure that's an argument worth having. There's nothing comical about any of my comic books, but I never grabbed on to the term graphic novel, and neither did most comic book readers, so I think we can still call these types of things games. The real question I think those types of arguments seem to be trying to answer is such and such a thing worthwhile? That's what they, I think, really mean when they say, is this art, or is this whatever? You know, I think what they're really asking, is this worthwhile? Should this be taken seriously? Does it have value to our purpose as human beings? And I think that this game absolutely does. The gameplay is very simple to grasp, even if you don't play video games ordinarily. In fact, I had to actually unlearn some expectations about how movement works, since clicking on a point on screen only moves you to a predetermined section of the 3D environment and not to the exact spot on the screen that you clicked on, you know, as you might expect. So if you think more like Myst, if you've played that game, you might have better expectations about how the movement works in That Dragon Cancer. I also felt stuck just a couple of times and unsure how to advance. However, potential patches and certainly online guides will quickly eliminate even the potential for this problem, and which in my case was already minor. I wasn't stuck for more than a few minutes, and then I was like, oh, okay, I see. I wish that would have been a little bit more obvious, but all right, whatever. Let's move on. Only happened like twice in my 2.5-hour experience with the game. Despite these minor issues, there don't seem to be any failure states in the game. It's not that kind of thing. Likewise, despite limited movement, you almost always have control of where you look, and visual exploration is the main focus of the gameplay. The sort of goal for each quote-unquote level is to explore your surroundings and interact with them in as many ways as you can. The reward for each object that you kind of take a closer look at, or each little scene or thing that you choose to interact with, is more of the story, more of these characters being revealed to you. Now, you can probably blaze your way through the game in under an hour if you choose not to click on any of the optional interaction points, but that's clearly not how the game is meant to be played. You're meant to settle in and immerse yourself in the story and the lives of those in this family. And there's much to immerse yourself in, with many scenarios of these levels having kind of branching paths of exploration. Although it might be a while before I have the emotional stamina to play this game again, because it was a very emotionally intense experience for me. I know that when I do, there will be many alternate paths to explore in terms of how I interact with the environments. The system requirements are pretty low, likely thanks to the visual style. Although the game is in 3D and you're moving around a 3D environment, objects and people are very simplistic and lacking detail. However, I felt this made the experience actually more contemplative, as the visuals seem to invite the engagement of imagination on almost a subconscious level. Ironically, I think I could place myself in the game more fully for its lack of visual details. I would also easily believe that the simple visual design would have been retained, even if there had been, the AAA game resources, to do more. Nothing about the visuals felt cheap to me. The art style feels very purposeful, and it's effective as well. There's no lack of kind of character to this world and these characters and the people that inhabit it as a result of the lack of detail in the models. One purpose of the visuals may be to draw attention to the sound design. The audio is a combination of recreated conversations recorded by those who originally had them, and also actual audio from the Green family's home videos.
This food goes through that too. Yeah.
Ready?
You want to touch him?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Set.
Why don't you just pat his cheek, okay?
Go.
Okay. Pat his cheek. Yes. See? It's Jolly. Yeah.
The transparency and authenticity of this project made it much harder to detach myself from when things became emotionally intense, because I was constantly aware that these were not actors, but real people recreating real life events that they really experienced, or in some place just letting us hear recorded life events as they were captured on home video. The music is also incredible. It's mournful, it's mysterious, hopeful, tragic, and inspiring, sometimes almost all of those things at the same time. I don't think I've ever been as moved by the return of a musical theme in a video game than I was at the end of That Dragon Cancer, when a theme from the very beginning returned and evoked a powerful feeling of restoration and hope for me. The game recommends using headphones, and I'd heartily second that, as using headphones will more directly, I think, place you into the experience they intend for you to have. The 2.5 hours that it took me to finish the game were emotionally draining, bringing me to tears many times. I'm betting that as a father of 2 small boys, I connected to the material more than some others will. Additionally, I think I could relate a little to the Green struggles with their faith, not because I've experienced anything remotely like what they have, but specifically because they are Bible-believing Christians, as I am. And their faith is up front, and it's a central component to the story that they tell through this game, though not the way you might be used to in Christian entertainment content. It's not a preachy representation of their faith. In fact, much of the story chronicles their struggles to continue in their faith, despite their horrific circumstances. They voice a number of hard questions and offer no exhaustive or easy answers. Some answers are offered that can only be legitimized by coming from those who have truly suffered like this, but more than answers, in this game we see how these people respond to hard questions of death and suffering, and respond in a way that I think is biblical. This is not a story of how people brainwashed by religion summoned the willpower to ignore reality and just kind of accept happy thoughts as a pacifying substitute. Despite what you'll likely hear from the mainstream games media as they respond to this game, this is not a story about like the power of faith or the strength of the human spirit or something else vague and general along those lines. It's much more specific than that. This is a story of Christians who suffered horrible tragedy and questioned whether or not the God of the Bible is good and worthy of their trust. It's the story of Christians who suffered horribly but came out on the other side still mourning, yet with hope instead of bitterness. Hope specifically based on the claims of the Bible and what it says about who Jesus is, what it says about who God is. Players can, and I think will, try to de-emphasize the specifically biblical elements of this game in their minds to kind of just suit their own preferences and comfort levels, but it remains that it's a decidedly Christian, and more than that, a biblical perspective, yet presented in humility and vulnerability that will hopefully entice many to hear the Greens out as they share their struggles. I hope this game serves as a model for other Christian creators in all forms of media. It's creatively designed with artistic excellence that stands toe-to-toe with the best secular entertainment of its kind, and in this case, I mean independently developed video games. It's not overly ambitious and then cheap feeling as a result of that. The reverse is actually true. It matches or exceeds industry standards, not in spite of its limitations, but through them. It brings new ideas to its medium instead of pasting Jesus over pre-existing ones, and it doesn't. It doesn't force like a gospel presentation. It's uncompromising in its biblical content, but doesn't go to the well of the gospel presentation once again in a very simplistic kind of way. And instead, it moves on to deeper issues of living life as a Christian in a horribly fallen world. So my hope is that also that the churches of America will better teach the Bible from their pulpits so that believers can engage with and discern their way through creative entertainment instead of being ignorantly afraid of it, as has been so common in our churches for many years. When more Christians know how to discern the good and the bad in creative work, more of them can be encouraged to engage in creative pursuits themselves, and more fantastic and influential work like That Dragon Cancer can result. I can't recommend this game to everyone, but I want to. For all I know, in my ignorance of true suffering, it could bring up memories or fears in some that will be harmful, which is why I can't recommend it to everyone. But I can and do recommend that everyone consider playing this game. Go watch the trailer for it and consider whether or not you might want to try playing this game. Please don't watch a Let's Play of it before experiencing it yourself. At most, watch like 10 minutes of one to get a sense of the experience, and then experience it the way it was intended, with you right in the middle of it, thinking only about your experience of the content and not someone else's. It's only $15 on Steam, only twice the cost of a single matinee movie ticket around where I live. Definitely worth that price. I think for some, the game may bring healing, it may bring hope. For others, it may bring understanding and sympathy for those around them. And for some, it may just lead you to hug and kiss your kids a little more often, despite how they persist in angering you or just wearing you down. I'm hoping that and praying that God will uniquely bless the Green family for their sacrifice, for the time, the energy that they sacrificed, the job security that they gave up to make this happen, all the work that went into it, the vulnerability that they displayed in sharing this experience with the world. For all that, I hope that God uniquely blesses them. And I hope that you also will be uniquely blessed as you play this game for yourself.